The golden hour light filtered through the tall windows of Bellacourt restaurant, casting warm shadows across white tablecloths and crystal glasses, while the soft murmur of elegant conversation mixed with the gentle clinking of silverware. Sometimes, the most life-changing moments happen in the most unlikely places, when we least expect them. Sometimes, a single act of genuine compassion in a room full of strangers becomes the catalyst that transforms not just one life, but many lives connected by invisible threads of destiny. In the heart of downtown Seattle, this is how our story begins with Emma Rodriguez, a 26-year-old server who was about to discover that kindness never goes unnoticed, especially when someone with the power to change everything is quietly observing from across the room. Emma had no idea that this elegant Friday evening would become the moment when her gentle heart would catch the attention of someone who had been searching for exactly the kind of person she was about to prove herself to be. The reservation book was full, the evening rush was about to begin, and everything was about to change. Emma Rodriguez, 26 years old, was a server at Bellacourt restaurant on Pine Street, one of Seattle's most prestigious dining establishments. Her dark hair was always perfectly styled in a low bun, her black uniform was impeccably pressed, and despite the exhaustion that showed in her brown eyes, she moved through the elegant dining room with grace and professionalism. The other servers often complained about difficult customers and long hours, but Emma found beauty in making people's special evenings memorable. 2 years ago, Emma had been a pre-med student at the University of Washington, dreaming of becoming a pediatric physician. Her apartment walls were covered with acceptance letters to medical schools, her MCAT scores were impressive, and her professors had written glowing recommendation letters. She had been just months away from starting her medical degree when her world collapsed. Her younger sister Sophia, only 16, had been diagnosed with a rare genetic condition that required experimental treatment not covered by insurance. The medical bills were staggering, hundreds of thousands of dollars that their immigrant parents who worked as housekeepers could never afford. Without hesitation, Emma withdrew her medical school deposits, took out loans against her future, and began working double shifts to pay for Sophia's treatment. Their parents had brought the family to America from Guatemala when Emma was 8, sacrificing everything for their daughter's education and opportunities. Now Emma was sacrificing her own dreams to save her sister's life, just as her parents had sacrificed theirs for both girls' futures. Now, Emma's daily routine was precisely choreographed. Morning shifts at Bellacourt, afternoon visits to sit with Sophia during her treatments, and evening shifts at a coffee shop near the hospital. She sent every spare dollar to the treatment center, lived on ramen noodles and hope, and fell asleep each night, praying that Sophia would be one of the lucky ones. The most heartbreaking part wasn't her own deferred dreams, it was watching Sophia, once a vibrant teenager who loved dancing and soccer, struggle with the weakness and uncertainty that came with her condition. Sophia would apologize for ruining Emma's life, not understanding that saving her sister's life had become Emma's greatest purpose. Despite her own struggles, Emma found ways to spread kindness at work. She would remember regular customers' preferences, celebrate their anniversaries with complimentary desserts she paid for herself, and always had extra patience for elderly diners who needed more time. Her manager sometimes criticized her for spending too much time with each table, but Emma believed that dining was about more than food. It was about human connection. Late at night, after her shifts, Emma would sometimes sit in her car outside the restaurant and look at the photo on her phone. Sophia in her soccer uniform, arms raised in victory after scoring a goal. That photo reminded Emma why every difficult day was worth it. This particular Friday evening, as Emma adjusted her apron and reviewed her section assignments, she noticed the reservation list was completely full. Wealthy families, business executives, couples celebrating milestones. Bellacourt attracted Seattle's elite, people whose biggest worry was choosing between the salmon and the lamb. Emma whispered her usual prayer before starting her shift. Please let Sophia's treatment work. Please let me be strong enough to keep going. And please help me make tonight special for every person I serve. She checked her reflection in the polished surface of a wine glass, straightened her shoulders, and prepared to begin another evening of serving people who lived in a world she could only imagine being part of. Emma had no idea that tonight, someone in that world was about to notice her in a way that would change everything. The evening was about to begin, and destiny was already taking its seat at table 12. It was just after 7 o'clock on a busy Friday evening when Emma's world shifted in the most unexpected way. The restaurant hummed with its typical evening energy, soft jazz music floating over conversations, the gentle percussion of silverware against fine china, and the warm glow of candlelight reflecting off crystal wine glasses. Emma was serving her section near the large windows when she noticed the new arrivals being seated at table 8. A woman in her early 40s, elegantly dressed in a navy blue dress, was carefully helping a young boy, perhaps 7 years old, transfer from his wheelchair to the cushioned restaurant chair. The boy had curly blonde hair and bright blue eyes that sparkled with excitement, despite the obvious effort required for every movement. His legs were thin and didn't support his weight, but his smile was radiant as he looked around the beautiful restaurant. Emma watched discreetly as the woman, clearly the boy's mother, arranged his wheelchair beside the table and helped him get comfortable. There was something both tender and weary in the mother's movements, the practiced efficiency of someone who had been navigating these challenges for a long time. As Emma approached their table, she noticed a well-dressed man in his 50s sitting alone at table 12, apparently dining by himself while reading documents. He wore an expensive navy suit and had the bearing of someone accustomed to being in charge, though he seemed more interested in observing the restaurant than focusing on his meal. "Good evening and welcome to Bella Core," Emma said warmly as she reached table 8, automatically adjusting her approach to be at the boy's eye level. "I'm Emma and I'll be taking care of you tonight." The boy's face lit up immediately. "Hi Emma, I'm Tyler, and this is my mom, Mrs. Patterson. This is my very first time in a fancy restaurant." Emma's heart melted at Tyler's enthusiasm. "Well then Tyler, we need to make this extra special for you. What do you think of our restaurant so far?" "It's like a palace," Tyler exclaimed, his eyes wide as he took in the chandeliers and elegant decor. "Mom said we're celebrating because I finished all my physical therapy sessions this month." Mrs. Patterson smiled tiredly but proudly. "Tyler has been working so hard. The doctors said he might never walk, but he refuses to give up." As Emma took their drink orders, she noticed Tyler struggling to hold his water glass steady. His hands shook slightly from the effort of his therapy sessions, and when he tried to take a sip, water dribbled down his chin. Tyler's face flushed with embarrassment. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I always make messes." Without hesitation, Emma pulled out her napkin and gently dabbed Tyler's chin. "You know what, Tyler? I think this calls for a special cup." She disappeared for a moment and returned with a colorful bendy straw and a smaller glass that would be easier for him to manage. "There we go. Now you're all set like a VIP." Tyler giggled with delight, and Mrs. Patterson's eyes filled with grateful tears. When their food arrived, Emma noticed Tyler was having difficulty cutting his chicken. The other servers were rushing past, focused on their busy section, but Emma quietly knelt beside Tyler's chair. "Would you like me to help you with that?" she whispered discreetly. Tyler nodded gratefully, and Emma carefully cut his food into manageable pieces, all while continuing to chat with him about his interests and making him feel like the most important customer in the restaurant. "Emma," Tyler said as she finished helping him, "you're the nicest person I've ever met. When I grow up and can walk better, I want to help kids just like you help me." Emma felt her heart swell with emotion. "Tyler, you're already helping people just by being exactly who you are. You make everyone around you smile." Throughout their meal, Emma checked on Tyler frequently, helped him when he needed it without making him feel different, and celebrated with him when he successfully finished his entire dinner. She even arranged for the kitchen to put a small candle in his dessert, turning the evening into an impromptu celebration. As the Patterson family prepared to leave, Mrs. Patterson pressed Emma's hand. "Thank you for treating Tyler with such dignity. You have no idea how rare that is or how much it means." Emma hugged Tyler goodbye, watching as his mother helped him back into his wheelchair. "You keep working hard in therapy, okay, Tyler? I know you're going to do amazing things." As they left, Emma returned to her other tables, unaware that the man at table 12 had been watching every interaction, taking mental notes of her every gesture of kindness. 2 weeks passed before Emma saw the man from table 12 again, though she barely remembered him among the dozens of customers she served each week. Emma's life continued its relentless pace. Exhausting shifts at Bellacourt, sleepless nights worrying about Sophia's upcoming test results, and the constant weight of financial pressure that never seemed to ease. The latest medical bills had arrived, and despite working 7 days a week, Emma was falling further behind. It was on a quiet Tuesday afternoon, during the lull between lunch and dinner service, when everything began to change. Emma was setting up her section when she noticed a familiar figure entering the restaurant, the well-dressed man who had dined alone at table 12. This time, he approached her directly. "Excuse me, are you Emma Rodriguez?" His voice carried quiet authority, the tone of someone accustomed to being listened to. "Yes, sir. How can I help you?" Emma replied, straightening slightly, wondering if she had somehow made a mistake during his previous visit. "My name is James Whitmore. Could we speak privately for a moment?" Emma glanced around nervously, worried that she was about to be reprimanded for something. "Of course, Mr. Whitmore. Is everything all right with your service last time?" James smiled, a warm expression that transformed his serious features. "Everything was perfect. In fact, that's exactly what I want to discuss with you." They moved to a quiet corner table, and James's demeanor became more relaxed, though Emma still felt confused about the purpose of this conversation. "Emma, I need to tell you something that might surprise you. 2 weeks ago, I wasn't here just for dinner. I was observing." Emma's confusion deepened. "Observing? I'm the founder and CEO of Whitmore Medical Foundation. We provide funding for children with disabilities and their families, and we're launching a new initiative that requires someone with very specific qualities." James paused, studying Emma's face. "That evening, I watched you interact with Tyler Patterson." The mention of Tyler's name brought a smile to Emma's face. "Tyler, how is he doing? Is his family okay?" James nodded approvingly. "That reaction right there, that genuine care for a child you met once, is exactly why I'm here. Emma, what you did that evening wasn't just good service. You saw Tyler as a complete person, not as his disability. You helped him without making him feel pitied or different." Emma still didn't understand where this conversation was leading. Anyone would have done the same thing. "No, Emma, they wouldn't have. I've been testing potential candidates for months, watching how people interact with children with disabilities. Most people either ignore them completely or treat them with uncomfortable pity." James leaned forward. "You treated Tyler with dignity, joy, and respect." The word testing made Emma's stomach clench with a mixture of realization and disbelief. "The Whitmore Foundation is launching a family support program, and we need a director. Someone who understands both the medical world and the human side of disability. The position comes with a substantial salary, full medical benefits, and educational support to complete your medical degree." Emma stared at James, hardly able to process what she was hearing. I don't understand. You're offering me a job because I was kind to a little boy? I'm offering you an opportunity because you demonstrated exactly the kind of heart and instinct that can't be taught. Tyler's mother, Rebecca Patterson, is actually on our foundation's board. She told me about your interaction, which confirmed everything I had observed. Emma's hands trembled as the full implications began to dawn on her. What exactly would this position involve? Working directly with families, coordinating care, advocating for children. And yes, we would fully fund your completion of medical school through our partnership with the University of Washington. Emma felt the world spinning around her. After 2 years of struggle, sacrifice, and deferred dreams, could this really be happening? Emma's first reaction was overwhelming disbelief, followed immediately by a flood of emotions she couldn't quite name: hope, fear, gratitude, and a deep suspicion that something this good couldn't possibly be real. "Mr. Whitmore, I'm just a restaurant server. I don't have the qualifications for a position like this. I dropped out of medical school. I don't have experience with disabilities beyond one evening with Tyler." Emma's voice trailed off as doubt flooded her mind. James leaned back in his chair, his expression patient and understanding. "Emma, let me tell you what qualifications really matter for this role. Last month, I watched a candidate with a master's degree in social work dismiss a child because he was too disruptive. 2 weeks ago, I watched you turn a nervous little boy's dinner into a celebration." But Emma's fears ran deeper than professional inadequacy. Years of struggle had taught her to be wary of anything that seemed too easy, too perfect. What if I fail? What if I'm not what these families need? What if I disappoint you and lose the opportunity to help Tyler and children like him? What if you succeed beyond your wildest dreams? James countered gently. "Emma, fear is not a good enough reason to turn down the chance to do exactly what you were meant to do." Emma's mind raced with practical concerns. "I need to think about this. I have responsibilities. My sister Sophia needs expensive medical treatment, and I can't risk losing steady income for an uncertain opportunity. James nodded understandingly. Of course you need time to consider this carefully. But Emma, there's something else you should know. The Whitmore Foundation also provides emergency medical grants for families in crisis. Your sister's condition and treatment costs have already been reviewed by our medical board. Emma's breath caught in her throat. What do you mean? We're prepared to cover Sophia's remaining treatment costs, regardless of your decision about the position. Your sacrifice for your sister is exactly the character we value, and we don't want financial desperation to influence your choice. For the first time in 2 years, Emma felt the suffocating weight of constant worry begin to lift from her shoulders. But with relief came a new fear, the fear of hoping too much, of believing that her life could actually change this dramatically. Over the next week, Emma wrestled with the decision. She visited the Whitmore Foundation offices, met with current staff members, and learned about the scope of their work. She saw firsthand how they transformed families' lives, providing not just financial support, but advocacy, resources, and hope. The turning point came during a visit with Sophia at the treatment center. Her sister, despite being weak from her latest round of therapy, noticed the change in Emma's demeanor. "Emma, you look different, less worried," Sophia observed with the insight that illness sometimes brings. "Something good happened, didn't it?" Emma told Sophia about the opportunity, and her sister's reaction was immediate and passionate. "You have to take it, Emma. This is what you've always dreamed of, helping sick kids. And maybe now you can help kids like me before they get as sick as I did. But what if you become the person who helps the next family like ours? What if you become the person who makes sure another big sister doesn't have to give up her dreams to save her little sister?" That evening, Emma called James Whitmore. "I'd like to accept the position," she said, her voice stronger and more confident than it had been in years. "When can I start?" 8 months later, Emma stood in the sunny lobby of the newly opened Whitmore Family Resource Center, watching Tyler Patterson navigate the hallway with his new leg braces, moving more confidently and independently than anyone had thought possible. The transformation in Emma's life had been remarkable, but more importantly, it felt authentic and earned. Her small studio apartment had been replaced by a comfortable condo near the foundation. The crushing weight of Sophia's medical bills had been lifted, and most incredibly, Emma was back in medical school, attending classes in the evenings while working her dream job during the day. Sophia's treatment had been successful, beyond anyone's expectations. The experimental therapy, now fully funded by the foundation, had not only stopped the progression of her condition, but had actually reversed some of the damage. Sophia was back in school, playing modified soccer and talking about becoming a doctor herself someday. "Miss Emma," Tyler called out as he approached her, his smile even brighter than she remembered from that first evening at Bellacourt. "Look how fast I can walk now." Emma knelt down to his level just as she had that first night, but now with tears of joy in her eyes. "Tyler, you're amazing. How does it feel?" "It feels like I can do anything now. And guess what? My mum says I can start regular school next month instead of staying home." Tyler's excitement was infectious. Rebecca Patterson appeared beside them, her face glowing with happiness and gratitude. "Emma, Tyler talks about you constantly. He tells everyone about the nice lady who helped him at the fancy restaurant and now helps kids like him every day." That evening, at the Foundation's first annual celebration dinner, held appropriately at Bellacourt Restaurant, Emma found herself surrounded by families whose lives had been touched by the program she had helped build. Parents approached her throughout the evening, sharing stories of how her advocacy had opened doors, how her recommendations had led to breakthrough treatments, how her compassion had carried them through their darkest moments. James Whitmore found Emma on the restaurant's balcony, looking out at the Seattle skyline, holding a photo of herself and Sophia at Sophia's recent soccer game. "Any regrets about leaving the restaurant business?" James asked with a smile. Emma laughed, thinking about how different her life had become. "Never, but I'm grateful for every moment that led me here, even the hardest parts. They taught me what these families are going through." "Tyler asked if you would still be his friend now that you're a fancy doctor lady," James said, chuckling. Emma smiled, her heart full of purpose and joy. "Tyler will always be my first patient and my greatest teacher. He showed me that kindness creates miracles. Sometimes the most profound changes in our lives begin with the simplest decision to treat another person with dignity and compassion." especially when no one appears to be watching, but someone always is. For Emma Rodriguez and Tyler Patterson, a Friday evening at an elegant restaurant became the catalyst for transformations that would ripple through countless lives, touching not just Emma's family and Tyler's recovery, but every family who would benefit from Emma's unique combination of medical knowledge and boundless empathy in the years to come. Emma's journey from struggling server to renowned family advocate proved that when we lead with our hearts, when we choose kindness over convenience and love over indifference, the universe has a way of recognizing that light and creating opportunities we never imagined possible. The Whitmore Foundation's Family Support Program, now one of the most successful in the Pacific Northwest, stands as a testament to what happens when natural healers are given the resources and platform to transform their calling into their career. In a world that often overlooks the vulnerable, Emma and Tyler's story reminds us that genuine compassion never goes unnoticed, and someone is always watching when we choose to do the right thing. What act of kindness might you perform today, never knowing who might be quietly observing?